The Haunting of Epping Forest. Epping Forest in England was renowned for its beauty, but also cloaked in a shroud of dark legends. Many avoided venturing too deep, especially after sunset. The stories of ghostly figures and strange disappearances were enough to deter most. For Alice and her brother Tom, however, the thrill of exploring the unknown was irresistible. Armed with a flashlight and a map, they entered the forest just as the sun began to dip below the horizon. "This place is so much bigger than I thought," Alice said, scanning the tall, ancient trees that seemed to lean in closer with each step. "It's just a forest," Tom replied, though his voice lacked conviction. They followed a narrow trail, but as the shadows grew longer, the path became less distinct. Their map proved useless in the labyrinth of trees. "We should head back," Alice suggested, glancing nervously around. As they turned to leave, a chilling wind swept through the forest, carrying with it an eerie sound, a faint, mournful wail. "Did you hear that?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alice nodded, gripping the flashlight tightly. They quickened their pace, but the sound grew louder, echoing through the trees. It seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Suddenly, the beam of Alice's flashlight caught something, a figure standing in the distance. It was a woman, her pale face partially obscured by dark, flowing hair. She wore a long, tattered gown that seemed out of place in the modern world. "Hello?" Tom called out, though his voice quivered. The woman didn't respond. Instead, she slowly raised a hand, pointing toward them. Her eyes, dark and hollow, locked onto Alice. "Run!" Alice shouted, grabbing Tom's arm. They sprinted through the forest, the trees blurring as they dodged low-hanging branches. The wailing sound intensified, now mixed with a sinister laughter that sent chills down their spines. Out of breath, they stumbled into a small clearing. At its center stood an ancient, crumbling well. Strange symbols were carved into its stones, glowing faintly in the dim light. "What is this place?" Tom asked, his voice trembling. Before Alice could answer, the woman appeared again, this time much closer. Her movements were unnaturally jerky, as if she were a marionette controlled by unseen strings. Alice's flashlight flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. The only light now came from the glowing symbols on the well. "Stay close to me," Alice whispered, fumbling for her phone. The woman let out a bone-chilling scream, and the ground beneath them began to tremble. Shadows emerged from the trees, twisting and writhing as if alive. Alice managed to turn on her phone's flashlight, but it barely penetrated the oppressive darkness. The woman lunged toward them, her skeletal hands outstretched. "Jump!" Alice yelled, realizing the only escape might be the well itself. Without hesitation, they leapt into the darkness of the well. Instead of hitting water or stone, they landed on soft grass. Dazed, they looked around and realized they were back at the edge of the forest. The entrance to Epping Forest loomed behind them, silent and foreboding. "Let's never do that again," Tom said, his voice